Hey friend, and welcome to the intuitive exploration of your chart. Whether you're interested in charts or not, you probably are interested in your secret superpower, right? How do we find out our secret superpower? Well, that would be we take a look at Pluto. So you can go to the place that I use called Astro-Charts because it's a very simple, clean, and clear chart, which I plan on showing you here. Yes, I have it on my phone. So you can take a look at that. Do you see how there's like this center that's like the pupil of the eye, and I see this like the iris? Well, when we go in here, I'm going to zoom in for you, okay? So if we take a look, this is the symbol of Pluto. And as you can see in my chart, it's showing up in Libra. So when you go there and you see wherever that symbol of Pluto is, it's kind of like one doing the calisthenics, right? Trying to make a full sun of oneself, a full connection. Whatever type of sign it shows up in, Libra is an air sign. Therefore, my superpower is air. Now, why is that important? When we begin to know, then we can connect with ourselves and begin to recognize sooner rather than later and apply these principles. We're going to break it down into reads of what Pluto wants us to know about being a Pluto air, a Pluto earth, a Pluto water, or a Pluto fire, okay? We might even get into Pluto spirit. I don't know. I'm hearing some little ticklings in the back of my ear because Pluto is my friend, y'all. It has not been fun. Pluto is rightly feared for many reasons because it is the planet of fear, it's the planet of challenge, the planet of change, but it's also the planet of our miracle power. That's where mira means to see, and power and miracles are known as a work of power. And so wouldn't it be important to know where your power is, what it is? If you've ever seen The Last Airbender, it's kind of like that, knowing how you work and move with these energies. So for me, it could also be communication. So communication is very important because I have an abundance of it, right? And my being in Libra, which is a cardinal sign, makes it like an exponential factor. So an X factor, meaning it's very important for me to use, or else it could lead to my undoing. It can create challenges for me with other air signs and things like that. It can create challenge for me of people being offended or violent towards what I have to say. That means if I'm not utilizing it, if I leave it unchecked, right? So it's something that we operate with on a frequent basis, possibly even a regular basis. And yours isn't going to be so daunting, okay? But that's just telling you from my experience. I have a lot of deeper Plutonian aspects going on in my life and in my experience to bring forward my comfort and my ease with this planet, making friends with it so we could come talk about it right here, okay? So anyways, I have been having these deep meditations, and Pluto talks to me often, just like Mars. Planets that are often seen as malefic, so does Saturn, but they're here to tell their side of the story, friend. So Pluto's talking about that Three of Swords energy. Also, Six of Swords and Seven of Swords. Well, what does that mean? Three of Swords is when we have had our heart broken, when we have felt backstabbed, when we have felt betrayed. Those things that often, even though we move on in life, a part of us has died or been locked up or imprisoned or repressed or damaged, or maybe we felt severed or disconnected from, okay? And Pluto was showing me how that actually happens. Now, that can usually be, it can dam up money. It can cause suspicion, jealousy, envy, those type of things, either from you or towards you. Because when we experience that, they're telling me that like in our chart, in the wheel, let me draw you another little picture. I'm going to draw it on the back of this. Because like in the wheel, we have the different sections going on. See the pie slices? And each one is like the center is our eye, how we see ourselves in our command center. And then we look on out. We'll say you got hurt, that's going to be 8th house. That's the natural house of Pluto, okay? And then it also can have a more specific effect based on where your houses are placed. This isn't anything you have to know or understand, but for those who are curious, it is here. So what happens is when we get hurt like that, we close this off. So now what was once an aspect of us and something, in a way we got to experience life, and it was a two-way street, it was a way we can navigate the world, it has now been closed off like a closet. Think of it. like a hallway that you now put a door at, and now it becomes a closet. So whatever the hallway would have connected you to and through is now cut off from, okay? That's why in your heart, some of those places don't heal, because we don't see the magic of the mystery. And let me see, what was Pluto saying something about that? Oh, moon rituals, tides, systems of mysterious happenstance. Like we go, how did this happen? How did I get here? How did these things come about? And we could spend a lot of time exploring and doing that, meaning spending our life, spending our years, spending our energy. But Pluto said, can I just come in and show you what your benefits are, what the information is, so that you can begin to engage with it on your own soul level and your own experience and through your own lens, so that you can become empowered by it, so that you can have insight and clarity leading to intuition. Like Pluto's saying, okay, so intuition is the things you already paid for before you got here. And it has to do with big lessons of karma. So when you begin to get into this, those melt away. So we're not staying in these ruts and these routines and these things that continue to happen to us. It's almost like when we talk about Life University at the channel, wanting to graduate from it, from the lessons, the tests, the trials, the tribulations, that sort of thing. This is the sort of thing that says, hey, you flunked. You have to go back and replay this year again. Now that's interesting, because Pluto spins in a retrograde direction. So do the nodes. And that is often known as the snake or the dragon, the thing that whips us about and lashes us about in life and keeps our boat tossing and turning, keeps our head spinning, keeping us reeling, keeping us in the cycles of never getting ahead, okay, or struggling to get ahead or swimming upstream. Okay, so that's just a little gist of the energy. Don't expect to get it all here, and just chill, relax into your vibe, because we're going to continue to explore these things at this channel. They come in through in the undergirding and in the background and the scenery of all the readings here, because it has been my life experience. Am I trying to speak from that? I have no idea. I am just the microphone. But today, Pluto's wanting to speak on how to heal that heart energy, how to remove your own sword so that you can give yourself the power of choice of how to move forward, okay? Taking the Three of Swords and moving it to the Two. It also has to do with Six of Swords energy. Now, Six of Swords energy is when you're trying to leave the past behind and move to a new ground. But it can also lead to offense and defense of them versus me and us versus them, cliques, exclusion, that type of thing. Have you ever experienced that or been a part of that? Well, that's why Pluto's wanting you to know about your superpower, because it's the thing that makes you uniquely you. And it's the stuff that's always on the inside. If you notice, those superheroes are usually ripping off their earth clothes so that we can see what is underneath on the inside. Okay. So that's what it's just beneath the skin, just beneath skin deep. Okay. So I'm going to read a couple of the notes and then I'll see where we go from there. But this is just how to pique your interest and pick your interest about why you might want to check out the other videos, okay? So, Pluto, it can be about always being in a face-off with somebody, because Pluto has several moons, and one of the moons of which, sorry, disturbance outside the window. Pluto and the moon are always in a face-off 6.4 days of the week. They're always facing each other and always moving around. And so that could get you trapped in illusion, trapped in distraction, trapped into thinking, if I could this, then I this, right? If only, those type of scenarios, right? It also can create the wobble in your life, that when you begin to pick up and feel on that wobble, it can totter you into fear, into worry, into doubt, into shame, into the shadows, into the shadow land. And I'm just talking about shadows the way other people talk about it. These are energies. These are energies that we begin to operate in then, and we're inviting into our space and into our headspace and our body, and consequently into our life. That's not what they're there and meant to be there for. Now, Pluto doesn't exactly make these come at you, shooting these energies at you. It's when we detect that. Like some people, when they're flying in a plane and they feel the wobble, they become terrified. They're terrified of the what's that called, turbulence going on. And being that I grew up in Mississippi and there are potholes every which way and loose, my mind just goes, okay, we're just driving down the road, we're just hitting these potholes, because I'm choosing to operate in a spirit of connection, of being able to relate to the energy, instead of feeling that I'm thrown out, thrown about, or that cataclysm is coming. Okay. Now, it can also enhance other people's moons. If you have a challenging moon, say a moon in Pisces, that can lead to a series of going deep into addictions, deep to the level of incomprehensible, okay, or experiencing that with loved ones. Now, it can lead on the scale of blame and betrayal or blessings and bliss. And Pluto's wanting to get us to the other because Pluto's been misunderstood and wanting to clear up all these misunderstandings. Now, do you keep hearing the word stand? Remember how we were talking about that wobble? That when we begin to feel the wobble in the universe, that we're like, uh-oh, worse things happening, especially if you have been caught in that cycle for a long period of time, which I have experienced deeply, okay? I've been through 3 cycles of Pluto. And none of them have been in my sign of power. And it began as like a double Pluto. So the reason people often fear Pluto is it can have to do with untimely death, unwarranted means, those type of stuff, things that put you at a disadvantage, right? It's almost like the one who accused you is often the judge in the courtroom. Can you imagine that? Trying to stand up to the very wrong accusation. What grounds do you come on? How do you navigate through this? So as we go through this, just like you, we're going to do it with cards, and I'm going to begin to know more about Pluto as well. You could also check out all the signs in order to gain a deeper understanding of not just yourself, but the worlds that you are living in. All right. So that you can begin to recognize them, right? And not have your mind played against you, pitted against you, to think or agree for the worst, to be able to stand in your faith, to stand in your truth, to stand in your belief. All right. So it's words like it's coming into understanding how we operate. The how. That's what I love. The standing, the happenstance, how do things happen, and the how. It has to do with make it or break it. Priorities, especially. Pluto put a big star around that saying, focus on first things first. That's how we get the benefit of our power. Prioritize what is important, and what should be important is you. Now, we all are at different stages and places in life where things can seem very impending and very important, but when we cast ourselves out and use ourselves simply as a tool, as a tube, in order to accomplish said things or help said things or do certain things, that then we've missed out. And all we get is the residue, and that can leave that lackluster, that can leave the dissatisfaction, the disharmony, and create more of a wobble when the boat begins to rock, or you begin to perceive that, okay, based on unsavory past experiences. Now, here's the 2 lists. So listen on through when they talk about the shadow of Pluto, but really it's our knowledge of, or our misinformation, right? Or our playing into the energy as it hits into us. That's blame, betrayal, blockages, ruts, routines, codependency, self-sabotage on a karmic level. That's that, 7 of Swords energy, where it's either playing with people that sabotage your energy, or you sabotaging it yourself by continuing to engage with things without being prepared first, meaning that ignorance, that not knowing, that misunderstanding, instead of taking time to reflect and process through. It has to do with the nodes, which are the things that come to clean up and clean house. And that can be incredibly challenging, especially if we're caught in the entrapment of it. Okay. So it also has to do with deception, self-deception, round the mountain one more time, or the mulberry bush, or the anthill, whatever you want to say, and addictions and ties that bind, okay? Now, on the flip side, when we get into it, it deals with blessings, bliss, renewal, silver linings, profound opportunities, meaning like you had no clue. It was not even on your radar, and you end up somewhere and you're like the 100,000th customer and you win a free home. And you're like, what? You're so taken off guard that it doesn't even register. Okay. That is a profound experience that Pluto is looking forward to you having. And that's why it stepped in here to help clarify the misrepresentation of its reputation. Okay, So it can also lead to overnight success. Now, this one can kind of teeter both ways. Now, that just depends. It's beneficial, meaning if it's not truly overnight, but you've been working behind the scenes and suddenly that connection, that profound opportunity occurs, and then you become a worldwide phenom. You become known out of the blue, okay? That is the one who has the preparation and the planning behind it to be able to parse out and take the steps and move it on through in totality without being swallowed in it. Okay. Now the other is, think of like the sudden breakthrough is like a shooting star. And with that would come along like James Dean, Justin Bieber, Lindsay Lohan, Macaulay Culkin, ones like that, where you wonder, how did they change so from this to this? Like you can see it on their face. Think Britney Spears. Okay. That type of energy. So let's get into the legit part. Remember, I showed you this is the symbol. That is the symbol for Pluto right there, okay? Here to raise the roof. That's why we're talking about your superpowers. And the reason why is when it begins to connect, it makes a flux capacitor, okay? It is the divine gene. Think like the insemination, the origin, the place where all things begin to create, where all creation comes from. All right. Now Pluto's talking about I am the prize, and that you will inherit if you endure. These things are not coming to afflict you. They're not coming to harm you. They're coming to prepare you. They're coming to strengthen you. They're coming to cause your creativity to cut on and go, what is this I'm experiencing, and how do I make amends? How do I make amends? Not how do I placate? Okay, not how do I shrink myself? How do I play peacekeeper? No, it's about making the peace. It's all about making. Maybe Air Supply knew something about making love out of nothing at all. Now, it is a place where we can create life or we can create darkness. Now, this darkness is not the glorious stuff that happens when we turn our lights off at night or when we stargaze. This is the darkness of ignorance. It is the one that facilitates, I would dare say, the greater part of the harm on the planet. All right. It's where things are unclear, they're murky, and think dusty, dank, even beyond the bottom of a swamp. If the bottom of a swamp could be wet and dry at the same time, this is like the counterpoint for plasma. So this is like the dust bowl hitting into your plasma and getting it all mucked up and all muddied up. And it takes a while to clear. But that's why Pluto's like, I'm in here to speak for myself. Please, joy. So that when they step into this and they get the clarity of mind, they know how to stand still so that all that debris can settle and move on out. And they're not having to breathe it, regurgitate it, live through this anymore. Okay? So ultimately, Pluto is here to tell us how we connect to our true self. Now, the interesting thing that I started to hear spin around is they saying, think black hole sun. Now, that has to do with like the power of the eclipses. And you know how you might have actually experienced it when you're aware that these eclipses are coming. You might even set intentions to go with it, right? Or the full moon or the new moon, those powerful points that we're going through. That's what Pluto is here to remind you of, that effect you have with you all the time. Every day is a power play. Okay, every day when you know who you are, what you're here for, all right? Number one, you're here to enjoy your life. You're here to create. You're here to create experiences for yourself, not experience. That's a body of knowledge that we want to apply in a specific manner in order to control things. No, this is a body of knowledge in order to experience ourselves, to discover who we are, our preferences, what we like, what we enjoy, and to share that with the world, okay? So, now, then also to connect you to yourself, because look at the figure 8. It's here to limnoscate. It's going to tie in with your life purpose. All right. So I'm glad you stopped on by. I'm going to be posting them for the air, the earth, the water, and the fire. You can check out Astro-charts and see where yours is at. Or like I said, you could explore them all, but it would also be important to know where you are placed in the midst of this, all right? Because Pluto's about to make a move March 23rd. It's going to be slipping out of Capricorn. Oh, thank God I am a Capricorn sun, and it's going to be moving on over into Aquarius. And then eventually it'll land there for good in 2024. But that's why they're wanting to bring this up, to bring it together so that we can prepare and have our minds set right to embrace what is being afforded us at this time of transition and change, so that we're no longer played into fears, but our creatorship. Okay? Hey, I'm glad you stopped back by. If you like this, like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to have you hop on this joy train. Whose joy? Your joy, my joy, the whole world's joy. Being made full and delightful right here. You could also leave your comments or compliments down below. I'd love to hear from you and hear how you are doing, my friend. For now, this is Melissa Joy saying bye.